This is my office for the next month, so expect to see this background because all our shit is packed. So, anyways, today we are going to be covering something that so many of you have asked me to cover in the past. And it's been one of those cases where I'm like a little afraid because I have a huge fear of airplanes. Not airplanes, more or less heights. So my stomach drops a lot. But you guys asked for it, so we're going to cover Amelia Earhart. Welcome to Freaked Out with your psychic medium host, Liz. That is me. You guys have no idea how bad the height fear is for me, but it is something that has always just crippled me. Heights and authority, like police, prison, that kind of thing. Those two things freak the shit out of me. Past life fears, absolutely. But that is not going to stop me today. If the people on the challenge can face their fears every day, so the hell can I. But honestly, the fact that I am sitting here talking about a woman who willingly flew over the middle of the ocean with like nothing around her in 1930s, kudos Amelia. Amelia was just that girl, fearless, intelligent, calculated, and doing things that at the time were barely doing, and that shows serious strength. It would not surprise me if a man tried to cause a lot of problems for her during this period. Because let's face it, we're almost 100 years later still dealing with this macho man energy. God forbid a woman do something that a man does. She was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. She broke records and she broke every box that they tried to put her in. So no, I'm not going to sit here and accept the watered down version of her story with just getting lost. That feels lazy to me. That feels typical man energy. And if I'm being honest, rather disrespectful, because she was hella better than that. Because she was not someone who was careless by any means. This is somebody who knew exactly what she was doing. So let's get into her story because this piece does not sit right with me. On July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart and her navigator, Fred Noonan, took up from Lae, New Guinea, heading towards Howland Island. And let's explain something. This island is basically a dot, a tiny strip of land in the middle of a very massive ocean. Like, if you blink, you can miss it. So already I'm stressed for her. Now, they were in radio contact with the Coast Guard ship, and everything seemed fine at first. But then her tone started to shift. She said something like she should be close, but she couldn't see the island. And she also suggested that fuel was running low, which I believe that someone intentionally took some of her fuel to make damn sure that it was on the low side. Just saying. And at one point she had said they were flying north and south trying to locate it. But it's not giving calm. It's also not giving everything's fine. This is giving we're running out of time. And then silence. No crash signal, no wreckage, no bodies, no nothing. And I don't like that. Although things do disappear into the ocean, but they would have found at least something. I understand not finding the bodies, but what about pieces of the plane? Especially since you guys knew exactly where she was at. Because you're telling me that one of the most famous women in the world disappeared mid-flight on a known route with people actively waiting on her, and we just find nothing? No. Now, the US did launch a massive search, but something tells me, although they did that back then, I feel like it was more for show because people were upset that she was gone. I don't necessarily feel like the government gave two shits, but they were doing it to please everyone else. Now, they put ships and planes, money and resources for searching everywhere, and they could find nothing. And I mean, that alone suggests to me that they would have found something. And then I start side eyeing things like, and you don't lose a woman that iconic and just shrug your shoulders. So before we get into the conspiracies and the rabbit hole, I sat with this and I had the opportunity to channel her. And what she tells me is she did not die in the water that day. The first thing I feel from her is confusion. I feel like there was something else that she may have landed on. It wasn't a perfect landing, but it was a landing nonetheless. And I do feel like she ran into other people. I keep seeing that she didn't know who she was. Like, she had no idea. And unfortunately, the man that was with her, I don't feel like he made it through this crash landing. I feel like he died on impact. But I also feel like she had no memory or recollection of him whatsoever. And I also keep seeing that prior to her crash landing, she was doing what she needed to do to make sure that her body was covered to have such an impact. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, there were people that saw her? How did that happen? I believe that this situation, although she did not remember who she was, I believe that many people did remember who she was. And I'm pretty sure they shared these details with the government. By the way, she loves that everyone just didn't believe that she died, and that just makes me happy as well, but she just wants everyone to know that. So here are some of these conspiracies that I'm going to try to debunk. The crash and sink, I don't believe that to be true. Apparently, it's the most accepted conspiracy, but it's still questioned quite a bit. We found the damn Titanic. How the hell did we not find Amelia? Okay, now this one seems more of what I am feeling. There's a castaway theory. There is an island called Niku Mararo, which was about 350 miles from Howland. Now, people found bones in 1940, a shoe fragment, possibly a woman, makeshift camp signs, old radios that could have been connected to her, explains the post disappearance radio signals, and also explains why no wreckage was found, especially immediately. The only issue is that there is no DNA, and the evidence of fragments was not definitive. There's another conspiracy that she was captured by Japan, which I don't feel at all, so I'm not going to get into that conspiracy. Another conspiracy is that people think that she survived and changed identity. I understand that one a little bit more. There is somewhat of a connection to that, but we'll get into it. Now, apparently there were like dozens and dozens of radio signals after she had crashed. Some seemed credible. Others were likely hoaxes, but it just feels like something is also connected to that as well. Now let's get into what I feel on this, and then we're going to answer some questions. I don't believe that she landed on an island where there weren't people present already. And I do feel like she may have landed on this particular island. There might have been some people just hanging out, could have been people that survived previously. It seems like men. There were no women involved in this at all. I feel like Amelia didn't know who she was, but these guys did. And I believe that these two men were military men. Could have had a crash as well, and they pretended to be helpful. Now, she couldn't remember for, I'd say, like 2 or 3 weeks, but she just knew how to do things. She knew how to survive. She knew how to keep a fire going. She knew how to keep herself protected, eating, very survivor kind of energy, and she just didn't understand how and why she knew all of this. Now, from what I get, these particular men were like, okay, we can call it in or we can get rid of the problem because we don't want women to think they can come and do this kind of shit. She was showing them up as well. I don't think they had initially wanted to kill her, but because she was so knowledgeable of things, um, kind of correcting some of these men in certain behaviors, guys do not like that. And she specifically did things like that to, teach them. But they didn't necessarily take it as a teaching moment. They took it as a woman telling them what to do, and they couldn't have that. So as time progressed, I feel like they were on this island for about 3 weeks. I do believe that these men eventually got rescued, and I do feel like there was some sort of coordinates connected to them. I believe they were doing something military based as to why they went out there to begin with. But it also wouldn't surprise me if this was intentionally done. Like they put those men there to, check and see if anything may happen. They may have even floated there on a boat later on. They may have even lied to her about the story. There are so many missing pieces of this. But I do see 2 to 3 men. There was a boat. There was her having that amnesia, her dude dead. And then in addition to that, she was what I would say captured, but not captured by Japan. Of course, they're going to say that back in the day because they want to cause problems with other countries. But if you ask me, I believe that she was essentially captured by the US. And although the government did all these searches, I feel like some of those searches were faked. I feel like some of those radio signals and those hoax that they keep referencing, I don't feel like that was the case. I believe that they said that to hush people up. Just like UFO energy, when they're trying to keep those UFOs out of our sight and make us seem crazy. It is absolutely maddening to me. She shows me that it took her a couple of weeks to obtain her memory. And I do believe that these men were like, we should get out of here and go elsewhere. And I do believe they did get on some sort of ship. I do feel like there's like a smaller ship that led them to the bigger ship, and she came along with them. Now, here's the piece of it that confuses me. The bones that were found may have been Fred. I see that they took out and got rid of her ship, so we didn't know it was hers. And I believe that she went along with them, thinking that she was going to be saved. But she was a lot smarter than people gave her credit for. Her memory started to come back, and she had been warned before she went on this particular flight that these men, military people specifically, were coming to fuck with her. Were going to try to take her down. She was aware of this and very suspicious as she was carrying on with these guys. I even see that she had like a pocket knife and she had it on her at all times. I feel like one of these men tried to assault her, and I see that she might have sliced something off as well. They were planning to take her in and make her like torture her. They were trying to suggest that she was like a Russian spy or something. They wanted to come up with every conclusion to make her look bad, and they were planning to do some sort of interrogation with her, a torture method. It was awful, but she never ended up making it that far, and I'll explain why. While she was sleeping, although sleeping with this knife in her hand, one of these guys took advantage of that and I believe ended up slicing her throat and killing her. But she did not go down without a fight. Like, she had a full-blown fight with this guy, and he was not supposed to do that. They definitely weren't supposed to do that. The other guy was like, "What did you do? Why did you do that? We weren't supposed to. We had orders." But this guy suggested that they make it look like it was an accident, that she accidentally died along the journey. I also believe that this guy that killed her was the man that tried to rape her. And I feel like he was either afraid, worried about what she might say. She knew stuff about this guy. She called him out. There was a lot involved there. So, from what I gather, Amelia died on this ship because she was in a vulnerable position. Her life ended. But she tells me that this man was haunted by her every single day. He did get in trouble. The other man involved in this did say that he did kill her, and they were trying to get information from her. Again, they thought that she was some sort of spy, again, possibly from Russia, because women didn't do this kind of thing. They felt like there was a reason she was doing it and not for fun. And let's just clear something up right now. She wasn't doing this shit because she was a spy. She was doing this because she enjoyed it. She loved feeling free. I see that in her past life, previous to this life, she was a bird. She loved to be soaring. It was her conquest. And they really did try to prevent her from being even bigger than what she was. She was going to continue to try to push women, not push them, but encourage them to find their happy place, to find what truly makes them happy and follow their dreams instead of being barefoot in the kitchen and pregnant. You know what I mean? We need more of this kind of energy in the world. And I do believe that the government did find her ship. And I do believe that they got rid of it. Even Fred, I feel like they took some of his bones away, but some was left over. And yes, I do believe it was her shoe. So that is my feels on this particular conspiracy. Let's see if any of these questions kind of coincide with what I see. Hi guys, Liz again from the future. It is a good thing that I did not post my Amelia Earhart episode because I have even more information. So we're going to get into that as well. From what I am getting, Amelia had some hella information, like government changing, like really bad people, something bad. Like, I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I'm working on it. So we'll do a part 2 on this later. But from what she was telling me, she knew some shit and she was going to expose somebody, and that person did not want to be exposed. And people would believe her because she was somebody who was well trusted, well known, and she is telling me that there was so much more hidden. And even just blaming Japan for taking her or whatever the case may be, but she is telling me that she knew a lot of information. She even had proof, and everything was destroyed because of that. So, girl has been talking my ear off all day as I am doing these edits on the video, but I just had to share that. She knew too much and was targeted. And everyone trying to find her, no. I mean, there was a search, but it was barely done. They were told to make sure that it was never found, that she was never found. Because if the truth got out, many a bad people would have been exposed. Boom. We'll do a part 2 here soon, most likely in the month of May. So how did she miss the island if she was already close? If I'm going to be completely honest, 2 things were happening at the same time. She could not see it. Like everyone said, it was like a dot on a map. It was difficult. There was fogginess happening. Even if she got to that particular island, the plan was for these men to get her. So it is very possible that she did, in fact, land here or on the island beside it. But from what I can see, I feel like she missed it completely. And she was trying to turn back around and go, but it seemed like if she did that, it would have taken the more fuel. And although I feel like she had a crash landing, I only believe that happened is because she, in fact, ran out of fuel. And even with Fred, I don't feel like he died of just, the crash itself. I feel like something like stabbed him, which is why he died. And when she was in that mode, she shows me that's where the amnesia kicked in, because when she looked to her side and saw him, it like sent her in a complete state of shock and trauma. Thus, the reason she lost her memory. Did she realize that she was not going to make it? Absolutely. Thus, the reason she landed on the island next to it. That was the goal, was to make it happen, hurry up, get there, and just not land in the water and be stuck in the water. Was there panic in the cockpit? Yes, absolutely. I feel like he was more panicked than she was. She was actually calming him quite a bit. And because of that, he, although died, he was able to calm himself down a hell of a lot more. But yeah, that is what I see when it comes to Amelia Earhart. And I know that there are millions and millions of questions you guys might have for me. So make sure to drop those questions. So make sure to drop those questions in the comment section, and I'd love to see it. She is profoundly proud of what she accomplished. She's, she's a winner. She likes to win, and she feels like they got her. But either way, she did reincarnate. She came back as somebody for a very brief time, like maybe in her 20s she passed away, but from what I can see, she was still connected to flying. She didn't die that way this time, though. I feel like there was something else that happened. But from what I gather, she does plan to come back, and she's showing me that the kid version of her will suggest that they are Amelia Earhart, which is really cool. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to go and follow us on our new podcast called Us Against Everything. You are not going to want to miss it. We are going to be recording an AI episode that's kind of scary, but also very educational for all of us to learn and also have a little fun. We also have a big, big Epstein episode coming out with Landon and I. I cannot wait. So make sure to go follow us. It is only on Spotify. You do have to have a subscription to Spotify. Unfortunately, nothing I can control. But once we get on other platforms, we absolutely will. I'll keep you posted, but make sure to go follow. We're still going to be here. Don't stress. I ain't going anywhere. The more content, the better for me, honestly. Until next time, stay freaked out.